Ladies and gentlemen, the genius behind Aria, the AI that will change the world. My brother, Derek Chin. The applause was deafening. I stood frozen at the back of the conference hall as my brother Derek, a man who couldn't code "Hello World," took the stage at TechCrunch Disrupt. 4,000 people on their feet, cheering for my work, my 8 years, my life. Before I tell you how a voice-locked AI worth $4.2 billion became the most expensive paperweight in Silicon Valley, drop a comment. Have you ever watched someone steal your dream right in front of you? My name is Maya Chin. I'm 32 years old. And for the last 8 years, I've been building Aria. Not 18 months like Derek just told those investors. 8 years. On that stage, Derek was demonstrating my AI. Watching it diagnose diseases in real time, analyze millions of medical papers in 2.3 seconds, do things that took me 127 failed prototypes to perfect. The screen behind him showed my interface. My design, my code architecture with his name on it. In the front row, my father Richard was recording everything on his phone. Beaming proud next to him, my mother Linda was crying those performative tears she saves for public moments. They were celebrating. Derek clicked to the next slide. 18 months of intensive development. He said, I felt something break inside my chest. 18 months, that's how long he'd known Aria existed. I'd shown it to him at a family dinner like an idiot. I'd trusted him. My mother had said, your brother just needs one win, Maya, you don't need the spotlight. You're the support. He's the star. So I'd shown him, walked him through everything, and he'd smiled and taken notes and asked questions. I thought he was finally interested in my work. My phone buzzed, an email from HR. Subject line, transition agreement. I opened it. Effective immediately. You are no longer employed by Chin Dynamics. Here's your severance package, $50,000, and an NDA that would erase me from history. $50,000. For an AI being valued at $4.2 billion. James Morrison stood up. Titan Ventures $50 billion fund. He shook Derek's hand. We're offering you $4.2 billion, he announced. The room exploded in applause. I walked out. Nobody noticed I was invisible. I'd always been invisible. But in the hallway I smiled. Because they forgot something. Aria only responds to my voice. And the authentication expires in 13 minutes. I sat in my car in the parking garage, engine off, listening to the muffled celebration 3 floors above me. My hands were shaking, not from fear, from rage I'd been swallowing for 32 years. You might ask why I let this happen. Why didn't I protect myself legally? Why did I trust them? It's a question I've asked myself every single day. The answer isn't simple. It's what psychologists call normalized abuse. My family didn't break me overnight. They trained me slowly, methodically. Since childhood, I was 7 years old when I won my first science fair. I ran home with the blue ribbon, bursting with pride. My father didn't even look at it. He pointed at Derek, who was crying over a video game he'd lost. Fix it for him, Maya. My father said, your brother is the one people will remember. You're just the helper, don't forget your place. That was the lesson. Derek was the star, I was the technician. He got the applause, I got the privilege of making him look good. I remember when I was 15. I coded my first neural network for a school project. Derek copied it, turned it in as his own, and won a scholarship. When I told my parents, my mother slapped me. Don't you dare ruin your brother's future with jealousy, she'd screamed. Family means sacrifice. So I sacrificed. For 17 years, I sacrificed everything. Aria wasn't just an AI system. It was my entire 20s. I started the project during my PhD at MIT. I was 24, obsessed, sleeping 4 hours a night. My professor, Dr. Sarah Kim, told me I was onto something revolutionary. A true adaptive intelligence that could learn, reason, and respond like a human mind. But it was hard. Brutal. I failed 127 times before I got the neural architecture right. I spent nights crying in the lab bathroom, convinced I'd never solve it. I had no social life, no relationships, no vacations, just me and lines of code and a dream that maybe, just maybe, I could build something that mattered. The voice lock wasn't an accident. I embedded it deliberately in the core system architecture. I told myself it was for security, but deep down I knew I couldn't trust my family. I knew they'd take it if they could. I just didn't think they'd actually do it. My phone lit up, 37 missed calls, all from family. The trap was closing. And they had no idea they were the ones inside it. I opened my laptop in the car and pulled up Arya's core architecture. The screen glowed in the darkness of the parking garage. 10,000 lines of code, every single one written by me. Let me explain what they don't know, what Derek can't know, because he's never written a line of code in his life. Arya has a voice biometric authentication system embedded in its neural core, not voice recognition. Any decent AI can fake that. This is different. Arya analyzes vocal cord resonance patterns, harmonic frequencies, and subglottal pressure signatures. It's reading the unique physical structure of my throat, my vocal cords, the exact way air moves through my larynx when I speak. You can't fake that. You can't replicate it. Not with recordings. Not with deepfakes. Not with anything. And Arya requires that authentication every 48 hours. Exactly 48 hours. I'd buried it deep in the system update protocols. Disguised it as routine maintenance code. Nobody would ever look at it. Nobody would ever question it. It looked like standard operating procedure. But it was a kill switch. And only I held the key. I checked the timestamp on my last authentication. Yesterday, 10:47 a.m. That meant the system would lock at exactly 10:47 a.m. tomorrow morning. Derek's big investor call with Morrison, the one where Titan Ventures would wire the first $500 million, was scheduled for 11 a.m. 13 minutes. They'd have a 13-minute window between catastrophic system failure and the biggest payday of their lives. Here's what they'd been doing for the last 6 months. Every time Derek did a demo, every presentation, every investor meeting, I was there. Hidden backstage. Feeding him responses. Authenticating the system. He thought he was controlling Arya. He wasn't. I was pulling every string. The pre-recorded demonstrations he'd been showing? I made those. I hacked into the conference room camera. It wasn't hard. I'd built their entire security system. I watched from my laptop as Derek prepared for the biggest moment of his life. The moment that would never come. 8:47 a.m. The timer hit 0. Every screen in the building flashed red simultaneously. Arya's interface, the presentation, displays the demo units, every single device, all of them locked all at once. I watched Derek's face on the camera feed. He was mid-sentence, talking to James Morrison and 5 other investors from Titan Ventures. $4.2 billion sitting across the table from him. He stopped talking, looked down at his tablet. Tapped it. Nothing. Tapped again. The screen stayed red. Ladies and gentlemen, let me show you Arya's real-time problem-solving capabilities, Derek said, his voice still confident. He pressed the activation button. Nothing happened. Just a small technical glitch, he said, smiling. Give me one moment. The error message appeared across every screen in the room. Huge. Impossible to miss. Voice authentication required. Primary user only. System locked. I watched Derek's smile crack. He started tapping frantically. Swiping. Pressing random buttons like a child trying to fly a spaceship. My father Richard jumped up from his seat. Let me help, he said. He grabbed the tablet. Started entering override codes. Codes that didn't exist. Codes that wouldn't work even if they did. Derek pulled out his phone, played one of my old voice recordings, the ones I'd made for his fake demos. He held it up to the microphone. Arya's response appeared on screen. Deepfake detected. Authentication denied. Vocal pattern does not match baseline biometric signature. Morrison leaned back in his chair. His expression changed from interested to suspicious in exactly 3 seconds. He looked at his colleagues. They were all checking their phones now. Looking at each other. The energy in the room shifted. What exactly is happening here, Derek? Morrison asked. His voice was cold. Flat. It's my sister, Derek said, his voice rising. She's sabotaging us. She planted a virus because she's jealous. This is corporate sabotage. She's trying to destroy. Morrison held up his hand. Stop talking. He stood up. Buttoned his jacket. That's not a virus, son, that's a security feature, a biometric authentication protocol, and if you don't know it exists, you didn't build this AI. My phone exploded with notifications. 43 missed calls. The war had begun. Morrison's voice came through crystal clear on the camera feed. Get Maya Chen in this room right now. Derek's face went white. She's just the assistant, he stammered. She handles minor technical support. She doesn't actually. Morrison pulled out a folder, dropped it on the table with a heavy thud. I did my research last night, he said. Maya Chen. PhD from MIT at 2623, published papers on neural network architecture. 847 patents with her name on them. Every single one related to this technology. He looked directly at Derek. So I'll ask you again. Who are you? My father tried to salvage it. This is a family dispute, Richard said, his voice smooth, practiced. Internal matter. We can resolve this privately and... You have 1 hour, Morrison interrupted. Produce the lead engineer or this deal dies. And if I find out you've been lying about who built this system, I'll make sure every investor in Silicon Valley knows your name. They filed out. All of them. The room emptied in 90 seconds. I watched Derek collapse into a chair. My father was pacing. My mother was crying. Real tears this time. My phone rang. Father, I answered. Name your price, Richard said. No greeting, no apology, just business. Unlock the system. Right now. What do you want? 50% equity, I said. Full CTO title. Derek removed completely. And a public announcement crediting me as the sole creator. Silence. Then he laughed, an ugly sound. You're insane. 5% VP title, take it or leave it. I hung up. 30 seconds later, mother called. Maya, please, she was sobbing. You don't understand. The people Derek owes money to, they'll kill him without this deal. He has debts, $2.3 million to very dangerous people, payment due in 3 days. I felt something twist in my chest. I never wanted Derek dead, I just wanted what was mine. I'm coming to the office, I said. We'll talk. I drove there. 15 minutes. Walked up to the building entrance. Security stopped me at the door. Sorry, Miss Chen, you're not authorized, Mr. Derek Chen's orders. You're banned from the property. Through the glass doors I saw Derek. Watching me, smirking. He was going to let the deal die, let the system stay locked. And blame everything on me. Including his own death. I stood outside the glass doors for exactly 5 seconds. Then I pulled out my phone and called Morrison directly. I'd saved his number from the investor database months ago. Just in case. He answered on the second ring. This is Maya Chen, I said. I can prove I built Aria. Give me 10 minutes. You have 5, he said. I don't need to be in that building, I told him. I can access Aria remotely. Right now. Watch your screen. I heard him put me on speaker. Heard chairs scraping. They were all gathering around. I opened my laptop. Entered the master admin portal. The one Derek didn't know existed. Aria, respond to primary user authentication, I said clearly. The screens in the conference room came alive. I watched through the camera feed. Aria's interface bloomed across every display. Green. Active. Responsive. Good morning, Maya. Aria's voice came through. All systems restored. Would you like to demonstrate the advanced protocols? I walked them through features Derek had never seen. Memory cores that tracked 8 years of development. Learning protocols with my annotations in the comments. Encryption layers with my biometric signature embedded in the source code. But I wasn't done. There's something else you should know, I said. Derek didn't just steal my work. He tried to sell Aria's core code to a Chinese competitor. I have the emails. I sent the files. Watched Morrison's face turn from shock to pure rage. The room exploded. Derek was screaming. My father was making excuses. Morrison was on his phone with his lawyers. The deal died in real time. $4.2 billion evaporating like smoke. But Morrison wasn't finished. Miss Chen, he said, cutting through the chaos. I'd like to fund your company. Without them. How does $6 billion sound? 6 months later, I stood in my new office. Chen AI. I kept the name just to spite them. Valuation, $6.8 billion. Titan Ventures owned 30%. I owned 70%.